I thought I'd win in the end, and I have, but I didn't think it would take this long. The ultimately highest authority is if the president, on advice of the White House counsel, after serious analysis, judges that, as this president said to me, it was a bad rap and an unjust verdict, and I never should have been charged with anything, then that's certainly something to celebrate. And not by drinking champagne from a fire hose, and I celebrated in my relatively undemonstrative fashion with my wife. It's a relief, it's a pleasant feeling. I've had a tremendous number of messages and phone calls, hundreds of them, and all but one or two are really very gracious. I had a very nice phone call from Rupert Murdoch. I hadn't spoken with him for many years. Most thoughtful of him to call. He's congratulated me, and he said he'd congratulated the president for doing it. I always had a lot of supporters, and complete strangers, and many of them overseas, but followed the case and always thought that I hadn't been treated fairly, and their number steadily has grown over all these years. And some of them I've become, in cyber terms, quite friendly with, so I've naturally heard from a lot of them. The president, in the very gracious message the White House issued last night, was very clear in saying what his motives were. And that they were an analysis by his legal counsel and their legal team of the facts of the case, analyzing in particular material submitted on my behalf by Alan Dershowitz and others. Look, on anything like this, you're going to get people saying that it's a back-scratching job and he's just rewarding me for writing nice things about him, but so what? Some people criticize Santa Claus. Some people find fault with everything. But there is a point to this. There's a terrible problem in the United States. The conviction rate is almost 99%, and 97% of that is without a trial. Look, there are a few people that did things that one doesn't forgive, and there were a number of people who were a bit irritating, but they were just, they were just falling in with the trend. I mean, I was terribly defamed for years. Once you've been through a fair bit of that, you don't pay much attention to it. But that's not the case now. Here and in England, I mean, here being all of Canada, whenever I go into a public place, I get strangers coming up and wishing me well and things. I feel comfortable. I don't feel a pariah. I think I was about 15 years ago, but I'm not now. I'm rebuilding my fortune, but in private companies and not much in this country. I had a great deal of publicity in earlier phases of my career, and it's a real pleasure to do things in a way that's not publicized and doesn't engage any controversy at all. One good thing from all the legal problems was it gave me a lot of time to write. As you know, when all this stuff is posted around on the internet, you can light up the internet, and I often get Rush Limbaugh and people like that posting my stuff out. So it's actually quite an interesting, let's say not a career, but a hobby or pastime that developed with that. So I've enjoyed that. That's one positive thing from all of this legal harassment I've had.